The Capital Forum is an exchange of emerging views and cues from leaders in the realms of politics, business, finance, healthcare, and law. The Capital Forum.
Good morning. This is Rajesh and Mehra, your host for this 60-minute edition of the Capital Forum. The Capital Forum is a proud presentation of GTV, Global Television Network. Our other TV shows are Chitramala at 11 a.m., Salam India at 12:30 p.m., and Facets of Religions of India at 1 p.m. Here in the Capital Forum, we will feature business, politics, healthcare, law, and finance. The leaders of these fields will keep you updated with today's day and time. We will start today's show with the Congressional Corner. This is to be hosted by Dr. Rajesh Mehra, who is found alongside the Virginia Senator, Mr. Chap Peterson. Let's hear these two gentlemen in their brilliant dialogue.
Good morning. This is Dr. Rajesh Mehra in Chantilly, Virginia, and I'm honored to have with me in our studios this morning Mr. Chap Peterson, who's currently a senator in Virginia Assembly, and he's also running for re-election. And I've asked him to take some busy time out of his practice, his re-election, to come and educate us a little bit about politics. Welcome, sir.
Doctor, great to see you again.
Yes, I hope you had a busy week.
It's been a crazy week running for re-election.
I know. How do you do it? I mean, you're running for re-election, you're still practicing.
Right.
And I know in the last segment you told us you have 4 young children.
I have 4 young children and a beautiful wife, and I also like to watch the Redskins games when I can.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, we're doing good, right?
Well,
I mean, 2-0.
We're doing well now. Hopefully when this tapes, we'll still have a good record.
That's right, that's right. When this is played, we'll see what it is by then.
We'll see.
Let's talk a little bit about why is it so important for people to get involved?
Right. You know, politics in America and politics in Virginia is really the lifeblood of our culture. And I think of people that have come to this nation because they wanted to participate in democracy, they wanted to live in a free world, a free society, and participating in democracy and voting in elections. I mean, that goes to our DNA as Americans, whether you're an immigrant, especially if you're an immigrant, or whether you've lived here for 50 years. The bottom line is the ability to vote and the right to vote are so important. And especially in state and local elections. I'm a state politician, so I'm not a celebrity.
Not yet.
Well, not yet, but the job I hold, it's a part-time job. I still have a regular law practice and business, and this is a part-time job, but I want people to come out and vote in state elections, whether you vote for me or whether you vote for my opponent, because the point is, we represent you in the state legislature, and the state legislature controls so many aspects of your life. The laws on criminal laws, family law, public education, public roads. Almost every aspect of your life is controlled by state law.
There's a fallacy, and I know I often think about this myself, I'm ashamed to say, is I as an individual, how much difference am I going to make? You know, and that's, I think, the mentality of a lot of people, right? Oh, I'm not going to vote. What am I going to change in this world of ours?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I could give so many examples of where one vote or one organized person made a difference. That, I mean, people know that in our political system, the parties are evenly matched, the candidates are evenly matched, so a few determined people can often make the difference. You know, when I first ran for the legislature, I was a young man, I was an underdog, I was a challenger, and I had about 30 or 40 people that believed in me.
Right.
And even though I didn't have the money, I didn't have the reputation, I was able to win just because I had an organization.
Some grassroots thing behind
people that would work for free.
Right.
And, you know, that's important. You know, at the end of the day, people can make a difference. You know, I represent 250,000 people, but when somebody comes to me and asks for me to do something for them, I want to be responsive.
Right.
It's just human nature.
The change. How does one register to vote?
Great question. First of all, if you've moved to Virginia and you change your license, you're registering as a Virginia resident. Under what are called motor voter laws, you can change your voter registration at the DMV. So that's probably the number one way that people register at the DMV when they change their vehicle registration. If you're a youngster, maybe you just turned 18, you're taking a government class, oftentimes the registrar, that's the person in each jurisdiction that's in charge of voter registration, will come to your school and can register you on the spot. If you turn 18 or if you didn't register at school, you can always go to the county building, the county office building, and just ask to see the registrar, and that's a county official. Their sole job is to make sure people are registered to vote. And so you need to find that person, show proof of identification, and you can become registered as a young person once you turn 18.
Fantastic. And the elections are sometimes in November.
That's right. In fact, let me make an important point, Doctor, and that is if you're not yet 18, but you will be 18 by the time of the election, which is November 8th, you can register now.
I see.
So the only question is whether or not you will be 18 by the time the vote occurs on November 8th.
November 8th. Fantastic. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. You will want to join us again next week when we actually are going to talk about some issues affecting all of us that live in this generic Northern Virginia, Fairfax County area.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. Fairfax County has changed so much. I grew up here and it's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. I know I've been here about 30 plus years and it's just remarkable. Traffic.
Yes, sir.
And economy.
Right.
Tell us what's happening with both.
Okay. Well, no matter how long people have lived in Fairfax County, and I've been here a long time, people have complained about traffic. And a lot of it is somewhat endemic to living in a county which has 1.1 million people and 400 square miles. We're in crowded conditions. And it's also a function of the fact that we've created jobs over the past few years that people come to this area for work.
Excellent.
And that's good. I mean, we have a very strong tax base and we've created jobs. The question then becomes when you reach a critical mass that people can't get to work, they can't get to their daycare, they can't get to school, how do you deal with that? And one of my jobs as a state lawmaker is to look at innovative solutions for traffic, whether it's using smart traffic devices such as websites, trafficland.com, where you can actually look at VDOT cameras and see what traffic conditions are, whether it's encouraging employers to stagger their work hours so people aren't just going to work at 9 and leaving work at 5, whether people can go to a 4-day work week, again, to stagger their work hours and to break up the traffic flat pattern. And finally, to try and create communities where people can walk to work, they can take a bus or a train to work, and again, use that to give them options so they can avoid traffic.
Now, in the planning of the county, do you think in the near future we're going to have a different road system? Is that sort of in the works, or is it even possible?
You know, it's funny. Our road system was mapped out in the 18th century.
Wow.
So many of our roads, such as Ox Road, Gallows Road, Little River Turnpike,
these were the horse buggies.
Yeah, they were built back in colonial times.
Right.
And of course, we still have them. Those are still the rights of way that we use, and
they're the main thoroughways where you travel.
They are main thoroughfares. And in the 20th century, we took a modern highway system. It's almost as if we laid it on top. We took the Beltway and 66 and 95, and we laid that modern superhighway on top of this old colonial system. And so as a result, we have this hybrid, sort of a modern colonial.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, you asked, do I think there will be changes? I think what will happen is people will have to adapt the way they go to work. People will have to adapt the way that they go to school, whether it's a function of using transit more often, carpooling more often, biking to work, or walking to work. I don't think that as this county becomes more and more urbanized, that people are going to be able to rely on just a quick drive to work. I just don't think it's going to happen.
But behaviors have to change. Employers have to change.
Sure.
It's not just making a new road or repaving a road.
Right, and even if you do repave a road, again, there's just always going to be certain bottlenecks. For example, we're talking in Chantilly, if you take 66 to 495, you can make 66 20 lanes wide, but once you get to 495, you're going to get a backup.
Right, it doesn't matter.
There's just always going to be a bottleneck there.
Now tell me a little bit about your opinion about the state of our economy in the state.
Well, I'm proud of our economy in Virginia. Right now we have 6% unemployment in Virginia, which is 3% less than the national average. We have been creating jobs, maybe not as many as I'd like, but our economy has been slightly growing. We have actually been adding tax revenues because businesses are growing. So we feel pretty good in Virginia. And in the state Senate, we decided to balance the budget without raising taxes over the past 4 years. I feel like that helped set a good example to folks that we're going to live within our means, we're not going to spend, we're going to try and conserve, but at the same time make the investments
Are we
need
in the
to make.
black or red, meaning as a state?
We're in the black right now, which means we're running a very small surplus. Now, one of the reasons we have a surplus is we withheld some payments we need to make to our state pension fund, and we need to come back and make those payments. So there was a little bit of chicanery there, but on balance, we have a AAA bond rating for our state, which means we're considered one of the...
That's a good thing in this age and time.
That's right. That means we're considered one of the best managed states in the nation. And considering the United States itself is a AA bond rating,
Yeah,
that's a good
right.
thing.
We got downgraded, which we can talk about for hours. But very well. Well, we'll continue bringing you some interesting topics. So please join us again next week. And Mr. Peterson will enlighten us on education, which is, I know, very important to each one of you out there. So please join us again next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Doctor,
sir.
it was great to be here.
Welcome to Who's Who. Here we shall feature outstanding personalities with name and fame. These are the names that will be remembered. Today we shall project 2 different pages of Who's Who. Both of these will be conducted by Mr. Frank Islam of the Washington Current Review, which you enjoy every week on Salam India. Let's see now. The very first page will feature Mr. Islam's interview with Mr. Manish Sood from Intense Entertainment. We are all familiar with Intense Entertainment and all of the various Bollywood concerts that this company brings into your company here in the Metro DC area. Who is the backbone behind all of this? That's what we're going to find out today. Are you ready? Here we go.
This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices in business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Manish Sood. Manish is a Chief Executive Officer of entertainment company. And when it comes to entertainment, he's a force to reckon with. And he has brought many, many concerts from Bollywood to DC metro area. Thank you, Manish, for coming to our show.
My pleasure.
And welcome to our show.
It's my pleasure.
Tell me all about this Intense Entertainment that you're Chief Executive Officer of that. When did you start the business? Why did you start the business? Where is it located? And why are you into this kind of business?
Well, Intense Entertainment, actually entertainment comes from within. It's when you have a passion for entertainment, that's when you can start this business. And from very childhood, when I was about 13 to 14 years old, even during my teenagers' time, I had this passion. I used to organize small events at my back home in Mumbai. And we used to have like the Christmas party, the New Year's party, and then I started having local talents, and we rent a place, and so it was there from within. One day I want to come and do an entertainment business.
So this has been your passion and commitment.
This has been my passion from day one. But I was looking for the right opportunity and the right time to come.
So this company is located right over here in DC?
This company is a local company, Intense Entertainment LLC, and it is in DC.
Okay.
Our office is in Virginia, though.
Okay.
But we started this business not far enough, last July. So we are like about 6 to 8 months old company. But
is that right?
Yes, we are. But we have always been in, especially I have been in entertainment
for a long
media for a long time, getting experience, learning how the trade is in US, because it's different in India and US. But I started this company in July, March actually, last year. So we are pretty new.
Pretty new, but growing. It's stronger day by day.
Yes.
So Manish, considering the fact that the economy is fragile, we have a long way to recovery, and the economy is not doing well. How do you see the entertainment businesses surviving I know they're struggling, but are they surviving this business? How is that affecting your entertainment business?
See, actually, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Yes. If you see, because the economy is bad and people cannot take very expensive tours, if you had a lot of money in your bank, the first thing you do is you want to go out for vacation. You want to go to Europe, you want to go to Australia. But now, since people have very limited resources to spend, what my thinking is, if you get them a good event and reasonably priced, this would be a great success, because people would like to spend some money, not a great deal, and still get entertainment. Because whether the economy is good or bad, people like to get entertained.
Okay, so that's your mantra.
Yeah, that's my mantra. I try to get good performances. I try to get good entertainment events.
And cost effect, and the price is reasonable and fair.
I try to put it at the
fair, reasonable price.
See, our cheapest tickets in most of the concerts are about $35.
Yeah, which isn't that much.
Which is not that much. And over the trend, I've seen that 35 or 55 or 57 tickets, they go really fast.
Good. So that's your, what I consider a secret sauce.
Yeah, whether economy is bad or good, entertainment is entertainment.
Good. So being entertainment, what is all is involved?
Actually, frankly, everything else like any other business, entertainment business is a business. So a lot of hard work is involved. Mm-hmm. First of all, the key factor for a successful entertainment show is the teamwork.
Teamwork.
If we do not have a proper team, you will never be able to success.
You rely upon your people to make it successful.
Yeah, like we have departments, various departments. We have a marketing department, we have advertising department, we have ticket sales, then we have logistic department.
So they're all working together for shared goals.
We all work together, and one person is ahead of each department, and that's how it's an easy process. Otherwise, it's going to be a big challenge to run a show.
Let's talk about some of the show that you bring from Bollywood, India. And how did you get into this business, and what kind of concert have you brought in? Can you give me some examples to illustrate your point?
Yeah, sure. My first concert was Atif Aslam and Sunidhi Chauhan.
Okay, so these are the two Indian, what are they?
Yeah, Atif Aslam is a very good performer. He's from Pakistan.
Okay.
And Sunidhi Chauhan is a very good singer from India.
Very good. So you try to bring the India and Pakistan together.
Exactly.
That's a noble cause.
That's
the way the community is going to prosper, when they work together, when they have community harmony.
Exactly, and that was my thinking when I first took the show.
Your thinking is good.
Yeah, thank you. Also, the thing is that we, why to limit ourselves for only 2% of our full population?
Sure.
So if we have more countries involved, performers from different countries will have a bigger audience.
Sure. So you reach out to the broader South Asian community. Did you try to get involved with the people from Bangladesh also?
Yes, and a lot of people from Bangladesh was in the show. A lot of people from Afghanistan and Middle East was attending the show.
Now, some of the shows that you have is sold out.
Yes.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Besides making money, which I'm sure you do very well, there's a lot of hard work, there's sleepless nights. Tell us a little bit about the sold out show. What makes the show sold out?
Well, the committee, the audience.
The audience. What about the performer?
People, the performers, see, that's what I say. If we select the right performers, there are a lot of performers out there.
Okay.
But the key factor is to choose the right performer and the right time.
At the right time.
You have to, before taking up a show, and it's very important to see which month you want to do the show. You cannot do a show during exams when people won't be able there. Obviously, winters are out. So the key factor is a good month, a very good location, which is accessible to most of the people with easy transportation.
Location, easy transportation, reasonable price, the time you're talking about now the winter, but maybe spring and fall, and the summer.
Yes.
When the kids are out, and what about when the kids are out of the school? That's probably another way to attract some good audience. Am I right?
Exactly.
So that's your secret.
So all these things, actually, these are the key factors which makes a show successful. Obviously, the performer is the key. But other than the performer, if we have all these things rightly placed, and your marketing is very important, then I think any show of any caliber can be a good show.
So how do you advertise this thing? I'm sure you go to Global TV or you go to some of these TV network to advertise and attract the audience. Is that what you do?
Actually, Global TV
you use several
have
tools to advertise.
We have several tools to advertise, and Global TV has been very generous,
Sure.
and Nilima Mehra ji has been great.
Yeah, she's a
helping.
wonderful woman, so try to help her out. It'll be great.
She is she's a very good promoter, and she also promotes any Indian community or Asian community, actually.
Well, she's committed
She is
to her cause.
Yes, definitely. And so that's one of the big platforms we have locally, because our main idea of advertising is local advertising,
Sure.
because that's where the show is going to happen. Facebook is the
So
second
you go to the Facebook,
main platform. You have Twitter,
Twitter,
mass emailing.
So you're getting into the high-tech area.
I mean, this is how it is. You have to include the technology into entertainment business.
Great.
And that is your key. With Facebook, with Twitter, you can reach out to very young people, teenagers, college-going students.
Great.
With your television ad.
Try to attract the young audience as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Young.
and young audiences on the Twitter all the time, on the computers all the time, on the phone all the time to try to attract them. Great thing to do. I want to shift a little bit of your focus on what are some of the forthcoming concerts so our audience would know what is the venue, and who's this fellow Salim Sulaiman? And I never heard of him but I did leave India long years ago. So tell me about his work in the Bollywood industry.
Well, first of all, my next show is on 2nd of March at...
so it's not too far from now.
It's not too far. It's about 4
And
weeks.
who's going to be the performer?
At the Salim Sulaiman.
Okay, and what does he do?
Okay, there are two. Actually, Salim Sulaiman, to let my audience know, they are two brothers.
Two brothers.
Salim and Sulaiman Merchant. They are music composers, and Salim is also a good singer. Some of their movies, such as Band Baja Barat, we have Ladies versus Ricky Bell, which is the very latest movie. We have Rab Ne Bana Di Jodi.
Okay, so
Fashion.
These are all the movies.
All these movies.
So they have been producer of this movie? Or
No, they are music composers.
They're music. They compose music.
They compose music.
Oh, wow.
They compose music, and they have done some outstanding numbers. They have
Are they playback singer also?
Salim is.
Salim is a playback, not Sulaiman.
Suleiman helps him, but they are basically...
So it's a team effort.
It's a team effort.
Great.
Along with Salim Sulaiman, we have 3 more singers coming with them.
Okay. Who
we
are
have
those?
Shraddha Pandit, we
Okay.
have Bani Dayal,
Bani
we
Dayal.
have Afridi.
Afridi.
And these 3 singers, they are going to perform with them. In fact, at this, let me take this opportunity that we are looking for young school kids who are talented, who want to perform.
Well, here's your chance to attract
show.
the young people who wants to perform in the show. That's a great way, Manish, to get the people in the audience to participate in the show that you're talking about. That's great.
Definitely, and that's one of my ideas, is to even promote local talent.
Great, and I think that's a noble cause. You're doing the right thing. Now, are you just a local promoter, or how is your work with international promoters?
Well, right now, my focus is mainly on the tri-state area, which is Washington, D.C.
And Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, okay.
That's true. But eventually, over the period of time, I would think about being a national promoter.
Good. Now, looking at the future, it's kind of hard to forecast the future. What are your dreams and aspirations are? What would you like to be?
Well, my dream is to go into mainstream.
To the mainstream?
Mainstream.
Okay.
You know, we are targeting 2 to 4% of the entire population and running this show.
Okay.
My idea would be more towards get into different countries, get performers, get all the performers at one platform, and make a huge show.
Okay, if somebody looking in the audience and they say they want to get into this kind of business, what suggestion do you have for them?
Well, my first suggestion is to work with us as a team, and
get to know the trade.
Yes, get to know the trade.
And you're the man who can help them to teach them the trade.
Yeah, I'm open to anyone who wants to join this team.
Well, what an opportunity for all of you to work with Mr. Sood and try to learn the trade, so that you could be one of those days Manish Sood as well. So thank you very much, Manish, for coming. And good luck to you.
Thank you.
And I hope it all works out for you. And I hope you'll be successful. And I know the audience will help you to get there.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That is our show. This is Frank Islam from FY Investment Group wishing you a great week. And thank you for watching.
And now back to Who's Who. We will now bring into the limelight a fine author. His name is Mr. John B. Wren. What does this gentleman do for a living, and how did he become an author? What are his true passions in life, and what's his driving force? Is his book available now? Is he writing other books? Is this his first book? These questions and many more run across all of our minds when you see a shining star like this on center stage. Well, I'll show you our center stage to discover this famous author in conversation with Mr. Frank Islam.
This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is John Wren. John is an author, novelist. He wrote a wonderful book, To Probe a Beating Heart. I hope you will have an opportunity to buy it and to read it. And if you have a lot of comments and feedback, please let John know. John, welcome to our show. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciated that very much. Tell me a little bit about this book.
This book is an attempt to describe the development and life of a serial killer. It begins with before his birth in Europe, and it rides through his childhood, into his adulthood, and through the several killings that he is involved in. And the opposite side is the family of one of his first victims, who seek him out, find him, and where the police could not be effective, they are.
That's the bottom line in this book?
That's the bottom line. That's it.
So what led you to write thrillers like that?
I enjoy
And why
reading.
did you get involved with something like writing a novel?
Well, that was a challenge. That was a challenge from somebody that I'm married to.
Okay. Well, then you just passed it back to your wife.
I just passed the buck, of course. I enjoy reading. I've always enjoyed reading.
So you enjoy reading, researching, writing, and reflecting.
Well, I decided one day to comment on a movie that we were watching, and she said, "Do you think you could do better?" And I said, "Well," and she said, "I hear you talking. Go ahead, write a book." So I said, "Well, I have time this weekend. I'll write a book." 18 months later, there's the product.
That is the product.
That's the product.
Wonderful. How did you pick a setting for the book?
I lived in, I was raised in Buffalo, New York. I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, raised in Buffalo, New York, spent a lot of time in Cleveland. And the story takes place on the Interstate 90 corridor that runs between Albany and Toledo. It goes much further west, but
Correct.
The prime locations are along that corridor. It's an area that I'm somewhat familiar with, and I found it easy to place the characters and the events in that area.
Is this a real story?
It's purely fiction.
It is purely
Pure
fiction.
fiction.
But can you relate to it? Some examples to illustrate your point?
I cannot say that there's any specific person being referred to in the book. No.
You can't.
No, I cannot.
So did you research the book?
I did research by looking on different websites, checking on the abduction and ill treatment of children, disappearances within this country, things of that sort. And then a lot of the information or a lot of the background for writing the book came from reading other books, watching things on television, movies that I have seen.
So novel, is that your passion?
I'm an engineer by trade.
Okay, so you deviated and departed for your profession to get into the writing of a novel.
Yeah, I don't play golf. I don't go bowling. I write.
Okay, so you don't do any extracurricular activities.
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's very therapeutic. I get to do things in fiction that one cannot do in real life.
When do you write?
Good question. I write at night, sometimes a little bit too late, and I oversleep in the morning. I'll write on weekends when I'm on vacation. Whenever I have a few free minutes, I will sit down and try to write. Not always successfully, but I try.
But you try.
I try.
Do you enjoy writing?
I love it. It's fun.
It is fun. I'm sure you're passionate, you're committed, and this is how you drive that fun. Now, I'm an author myself. I wrote a book called Renewing the American Dream and How to Be Competitive in the 21st Century.
Yes.
I asked you the question, when do you get time to write? I always face that challenge in my life as well. So the best time to write for me is in the morning or late into the night when it is dark and cloudless sky.
Yes, I could relate.
You can relate to that.
Yes.
Is this your only novel?
So far,
Is this your first novel?
this is my first novel. I have begun the second one. I'm about 30%
So the story
into it.
will be the same thing? It'll be
It's-
it'll somewhat different.
It's in the same vein, different
Same vein.
characters.
Different characters.
Yes.
Different players.
Different players, different
Same
location.
story.
Similar story.
Similar story. Why this kind of a story?
I find it very easy to write. Perhaps because I have read so many books in that genre, or because I have seen so many movies or TV programs, I find it quite easy to write about it.
Now, to me, this will be challenging to write a fiction, something like that. You know,
Yes.
Obviously, it comes to you so easy, so naturally.
Well, I don't know. Like I say, I've been an engineer all my life. I got 44 years designing buildings and writing specifications and reports, and all of those are very, very factual, and you cannot deviate from 1 + 1 = 2. You cannot deviate. But here I can write whatever I feel like. It's very relaxing. Again, it's very therapeutic.
But there got to be a common theme and common message, and that has to hold it together. I mean, is that the way you start out with, or do you just start on the computer? Or what thought comes to your mind?
I started out by building an outline.
Okay, annotated outline.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. And I started, it's like growing a tree. You start with the trunk, you build branches, and you put leaves on the tree.
Oh, that's a wonderful way to describe it, in layman terms.
Yes.
So what's coming next?
The next book is about a young man who grows up in Detroit, has a tremendous fear of the darker movies, the serial killer type movies. And the only way he can address his fear is to act like the people that he fears as a serial killer.
That is the whole essence of the story?
That's pretty much it, yeah.
What do you want to tell? What kind of story do you want to tell to your reader after they read the book? They have to draw their own conclusion?
The first book, this book, The Probe of Beating Heart, was written strictly as a lark, as fun, and there was no great intent to try to display a lesson or any of that sort of thing. The second book is pretty much the same. I have given great thought to writing something else, which I think is closer to your genre than this, where I talk about politics and religion and other things. That's kind of a dream of mine right now, and I have very little work done on that.
Paul, maybe let's work together for shared goals.
That would be fun.
Yes.
That would be fun.
I'm more interested in America. How do we move America forward? And we need to revitalize, retransform America,
Yes.
so that we can renew American dream. And I'm sure we all part of the American dreams. We love our country dearly. I'm sure you do too, just like I
very
do.
much, yes.
And who's the publisher for this book?
This book my first book is published by iUniverse. It's a self-published book. They're out of Bloomington, Indiana.
Bloomington, Indiana, self-publishing.
Yes.
What kind of things involved in self-publishing? How do you go about publicizing it? How do you go about broadcasting your message? So you need a message, you need a money, and mobility. You need 3 things. And how did you go about doing that?
Well, I invested in getting this book printed. It
Okay.
cost me something. As far as advertising is concerned, my wife and I spend quite a bit of time calling various book sellers and arranging book signings.
So you're talking about the bookstore, like a
Yes.
Barnes & Nobles?
Barnes & Noble.
So they can put that on the shelf?
What they do is they order several copies of the book, 20 copies of the book. I come into the store, sit down, and sign as many as I can, as many as the people are willing to buy. And that's one way of getting the word out. I also have a Facebook page, a web page, Twitter account, things like that, which I'm learning how to use.
Yeah, well, Twitter is fun. And the Facebook will be fun too.
I'm finding it a little difficult, but I have a daughter who can lead me through
Well,
it.
you got someone who can help you.
Yes.
Now, do you have a web page? My book has called www.renewingtheamericandream.net, and we get the statistic from the people, how many people have visited that, so we can basically predict how many people have been watching and how many people have read our book. Something like that. Do you have that?
I have a
Are you in the
web
process
page.
of doing that for your second book?
Well, I have a web page for this book. Well, actually, I have a web page for myself.
What is the name of the web page for this book?
Well, I misspoke. My web page is www.johnbwren.com.
Okay.
And the book is featured on that site.
Okay, but you do not have a dedicated web page for the book itself.
No, I do not.
Maybe you can turn on your daughter to just be nice and sweet to her, and she will probably put together a web page for you.
I'll try that.
Yeah, I think it's worth trying. And then get some statistics in terms of the people that come in and that visit their web page. I find it very interesting because that's how I find out how many people really have visited our book's web page. So there was and it was not that much of investment. So.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people have looked up my book online. I have no way of telling.
Because there's no way you can find the statistics
Yeah,
unless you do you figure out what the statistics is.
Yeah.
Have you tried to do something like putting on the Google so that some people do a Google search on you will find something about your book?
No.
Okay, you need to work on that from your daughter. You got to get your daughter engaged.
We have to talk more because you know a lot more about this than I do.
Well, I do not know much about it, but I'm learning.
Yeah, we are learning.
Yeah. So how do you go about marketing your book besides going to the store, signing the book, which is a traditional way of doing, broadcasting a message and selling your book?
Right. I do not have an agent, and I do not have...
You do not have an agent?
No, I do not. So I have to do all this myself. And my wife, thank God, is helping me with the marketing. We thus far have made contact with a number of bookstores and tried to arrange a number of signings. I belong to the Virginia Writers Club, where we meet on a monthly basis, and we talk about these sort of things. I also attend little gatherings in restaurants where they have poets and writers who meet, and I make announcements there and do readings.
Have you been able to track how many people have bought your book?
Not really, no. The publisher is about 3 months behind in statistics on how many purchases have been made. So I have some statistics from July, August, and September, but the statistics from October, November, December have not come in yet. I haven't received those as yet.
If you have to summarize for layman terms for our audience what this book is all about and what kind of feedback you're looking from this audience to give it to you so that you can improve upon on your second novel, what would be that?
Very good question. The book is about the development, life, and downfall of a serial killer. Again, I wrote it as a lark. I wrote it as
a lark?
As it was fun to write.
Okay, okay.
I do not claim to be an expert in the area of serial killers. I'm not a psychologist. I'm an engineer.
Right, right.
And again, I wrote it for fun. I would like to hear people, their feedback. They enjoyed it, they didn't enjoy it, what they did enjoy about it, what they did not enjoy. I tried not to put too many car chase type scenes in the book. I tried to control it so that my mother could read it. I tried not to be offensive. And I would like to hear back from people how they react to that.
How they react to it. How they get hold of you, John. How they can reach you on your email?
They can reach me through my website, which is www.
Okay, can you tell us what your website is again one more time?
www.johnbwren.com.
Okay, good, great. Anything else you want to share with me before I close this show about this book or about anything else?
I have thoroughly enjoyed writing the book, and I look forward to writing the next one or completing writing the next one. And it is something that I thoroughly enjoy. It is something that I would like to do for a great length of time to come. And hopefully the next one will be better than the first, and the third one, which I haven't even developed in my mind yet, will be even better.
Do you get a lot of, I know you're passionate, you're committed to do this thing. Do you get a lot of pleasure by talking to people when the people talk about the story of your book? Do you derive a pleasure from this thing? You feel good about it?
Yes, yes. One of the
you made a difference?
One of the greatest advantages of being an author is people say, "Oh, you wrote a book, tell me about it." And I get to talk to people. I get to meet a lot of new people. I got to meet you.
Yes. So you're learning from the people by interacting with them, by talking to them, by talking about the book. It's a way to engage people, to get them involved and being informed.
Yes, yes.
Very good.
And it's fun.
It is fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Now, after the second book is over, you're gonna write the third book.
Yes.
Potentially, yes.
Yes.
And that will be on the same vein, on the same line, on the same kind of a novel, on the same kind of pattern, with the same behavior.
Well, I've already developed an outline for a third book, which deviates from this book, from this type genre, tremendously, and it gets into politics, religion, and other things which are considered sensitive subjects.
Yes, politics has always been sensitive.
Yes.
And thank you, John, for coming. I really appreciate that very much, and thank you and good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
As you move forward with your life, with your journey, with your book.
Thank you.
That is our show. Thank you for watching. This is Frank Islam, wishing you a great week.
Weather changes, moods change, and with this change of climate and atmosphere, our internal and external body behaviors also change. What does all of this mean? With different weather conditions, some of us tend to suffer from allergies. Are you one of those people? Are your allergies seasonal, or are they chronic allergies? What do the medical experts, known as allergists and immunologists, have to say about all of this? One day it's the pollen, for some of us it's grass or dust mites, and if not all of those things, then sometimes food. Anyways, to become knowledgeable about allergies, let's turn to Pulse, where we will feature Dr. Rajesh Mehra and a board-certified allergist, Dr. Alpan.
Good morning. This is Dr. Mehra, and I welcome you to the Pulse. This is always going to be a few minutes with you to bring the most modern, newest technology, the newest news, and of course, famous people in our area that are going to talk about interesting and useful medical hints. This morning, I'm honored and privileged to have in our studios a very prominent allergist, immunologist of the Metro DC area, Dr. Alpan. Dr. Alpan, welcome, sir.
Nice to see you.
Oh, well, I know that you're a busy guy now. You've got a lot of projects going on, a lot of research, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes to come and share with us some important tips about allergies.
You're welcome.
Today I want to talk about a very common topic which you and I see a lot of, and that's allergic rhinitis. So that's a big word, but tell our audience, what is allergic rhinitis? What are the symptoms and what does it mean?
So allergic rhinitis, if we dissect the name down, allergic means it's related to allergies, and allergies such as pollen, dust mites, molds, pets. And rhinitis means allergy that affects the membranes of your nose.
Okay.
So these would be individuals that would sneeze, have itchy nose, runny nose, dripping in the back of their throat, related to allergies.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we're now in the month of February, March. Tree pollen should be coming out very soon.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see rhinitis, inflammation of the membranes from the tree pollen that's going to be in the air. So you will see in your offices as well as in our offices many patients who come in with these symptoms that I just told you about.
Right. Now, how common a problem is this?
It's a very common problem, especially in Northern Virginia, Greater Washington area, with the tree pollen and various other allergens around. It happens in about a third of the population, both children and adults.
Mm-hmm. Is that more or less than other parts of the country?
So it depends on where you live. It's pretty much similar in percentage, but it varies to the time of the year. For example, in the fall months in Northern Virginia, we experience the ragweed pollen.
Okay.
This is between the months of August into September, October.
Mm-hmm.
In the West Coast, ragweed pollinates in early spring, so we would see ragweed pollen in that
different time.
Correct.
Is it true that if I have bad allergies, you always hear I should move to Phoenix, Arizona?
Absolutely.
Yeah, dry weather, there's no flowering plants or trees.
So it actually depends. There are some people who have quite significant mold allergy. That would be more common in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
So for those patients, that would be a bad area. So that, therefore, it's always very important when you see a patient in your office that complains about rhinitis and inflammation of the membranes of the nose, to work them up for allergies, to understand what they're allergic to, so you can give them good guidance on what types of avoidance they need to do or what types of medications they need to take. And just along these lines, for example, if you have a child who's very allergic to tree pollen, we sometimes recommend parents not to take their kids out to the playground for extended periods of time in the spring months, compared to the other times of the year. So there's always some guidance one can give based on the type of allergies the person has.
Right. Now tell us, how does one distinguish between allergic rhinitis and having a common cold? That's one of the questions I end up explaining in my office when people come in, let's say with a runny nose.
So there's a couple things that a physician can do and certain things that a patient can do. So as a patient, if the symptoms that are related to your nose are seasonal, meaning they happen in a certain time of the year, but not at others, and it happens year after year, then you can think that this might be allergic in nature. As a physician, when this patient comes to you into your office, in a simple physical exam, you will notice that people with allergies have very pale looking nasal membranes, as opposed to the patient with the common cold having a very red looking nasal membrane.
So obviously one determines that by physically examining the patient.
Correct. So if anybody has a long-lasting common cold, a simple exam by the physician will enable to distinguish whether it's an allergy or the common cold.
Right. Now, when one diagnoses this problem, other than the history, which of course the patient is going to tell us, the exam which you alluded to, what is the next step in terms of testing as to how you're going to decide whether this person has allergic rhinitis and what are they allergic to?
So as a primary care physician or a family practitioner or an internist or a pediatrician, once you establish that the person has allergic symptoms, you can treat them by different types of medications. However, it's as important to treat them also to test them. So by testing, you will guide the individual or the families on what type of allergies they have and what kind of avoidance strategies that they can do. In our practice of allergy immunology, we always say there's 3 ways to treat allergic disorders, and the first one is avoidance. So it's always useful with the guidance of the testing to recommend avoidance, whether things that needs to be done in the house or whether the person needs to avoid being outdoors in certain times of the year.
So avoidance is one, and then how do you go about testing?
So the testing is called an allergy test. It's very simple to do. It can be done in 2 ways. One of them is a skin prick test, which involves gently scratching the uppermost layer of the skin. And it's very painless procedure. And it's similar to getting a mosquito bite. If you're allergic to the allergen, you'll get an itchy spot on your skin. So that's one of the ways you can approach it. The second way is, if that doesn't give you an idea, there are various types of blood tests that one can do to guide on an allergy evaluation.
Just to go over this one more time, the skin or the prick test, if I understand it right, at one time you put multiple allergens or multiple things on so you can see what they're allergic to, right?
Correct.
Like cat and dog and pollen and all that.
Correct, yes. We don't necessarily have to do them one by one.
It's just one time.
There are techniques to administer them all at the same time, so it's much more convenient for the patient.
And about how long does that take to do?
It takes about a couple minutes to do, and it takes about 10-15 minutes to read the results.
To read. So is this an in-office procedure that's done in your office?
Correct. So the patient will know before they leave the office what they're allergic to.
What they're allergic to. Excellent. Now, does insurance cover things like this?
So almost all insurances cover allergy testing because it's considered standard of care.
Especially if you have allergy symptoms, right?
Correct.
Because if you have allergy symptoms, they'll cover that. Now, once you find out that somebody's allergic to certain products or certain environmental things, then what do you do? What does allergy shots mean?
Right, so it's a good question. So let me go over the approach after testing.
Right.
So it's 3 steps. So the first step is avoidance. We recommend families and patients on what they should avoid, whether it's a cat or a dog or dust mite avoidance techniques or various pollens. If the avoidance techniques don't work, then the next step is using various medications, and these are either in pill forms or they're in topical nasal medication forms. If these are unsuccessful, or if the patient has already tried this, then the third step is a treatment called allergen immunotherapy, also known in the community as allergy shots.
Allergy shots, right. before we get into allergy shots, which I will want to do, let's talk very briefly about all the sort of the class of antihistamines, right? There's, you know, we all hear about Allegra and Claritin and all the other names, and I'm not trying to promote those drugs. What is the difference between the several products that are out there?
So we can distinguish the allergy pills in the market into 3 categories. One of them is a group that we usually don't like using. They're called decongestants. And the second group is antihistamines. So they also fall into 2 other categories. One of them is called non-drowsy antihistamines, and there's many different under this group. And there's also antihistamines that causes drowsiness, such as Benadryl being one of them. So in managing patients who have allergic rhinitis, we try to pick and choose the ones that are not causing drowsiness, and we try to stay away from the ones that causes drowsiness.
And then there is steroids that are sprayed inside the nostril.
Correct. So those are pretty much the gold standard therapy in allergic rhinitis. These are very low topical steroids. They're not the type of steroids that baseball players use to build up muscle.
Build up, right.
And they don't get absorbed into your body, so they stay topically in the nose. So even though many patients, before they come to you, may have tried an oral antihistamine, as a primary care or an internist pediatrician, as an allergist, we try to use more topical medications such as nasal steroids or even nasal antihistamines in managing allergic rhinitis.
Now let's go back to the golden therapy, which is the allergy shots or immunotherapy. There's sort of misunderstanding about how long does it take to be effective, and in what % of patients does it really work?
So allergy shots is the only therapy that can change the natural course of allergic disorders. In pediatric patients and kids less than 7 to 8 years of age, we usually limit them to for about 3 to 5 years. And for allergic rhinitis, they usually start working within the year that they're started. But we make sure that we have the family understand that this therapy does not always replace the medications we prescribe them, but we do them in a way that it would change the natural course over the long run. In adults, we do them to improve their quality of life. So there are some adults that will receive the allergen immunotherapy beyond the 5-year mark. But they do that to improve the quality of life, and sometimes it's an adjunct therapy to oral or topical medications.
I want to really emphasize this point to the audience that allergy shots or immunotherapy, and I'm sure you agree with this, is not an overnight thing, right? And number 2, you don't want to come get allergy shots in the middle of spring season. It's not going to help you that season. It's going to be 9 months to a year before you'll see a change.
Correct. Actually, we sometimes even don't recommend patients to start allergy shots in the middle of a pollen season, because that could sometimes exacerbate or flare up their symptoms.
Right. Now, the reason I mentioned that is I know a lot of our patients think, let's go see the doctor and get allergy shots. It's exactly the opposite. It's a way to change the course of the disease, and number 2, it's going to take time to change it. If you want immediate treatment, you've got to go with the pills or the spray or...
But like you said, it changes the natural course of the disease, and the main reason to do them is to improve one's quality of life. Less medication, more disease-free dates, less days out of work, less days out of school, and much more comfortable lifestyle.
Excellent.
Remember I mentioned to you in the beginning of our conversation that in certain patients we'd ask their parents not to take them to the park.
Right, avoidance.
So, correct. So when you do allergen immunotherapy or allergy shots, you can get a patient to a state where going out is not as difficult
to do that,
compared to before.
Well, I have so many more questions, but it seems like we're running out of time. The timekeepers keep reminding us we're out of time. So
it was a great discussion today.
Yes, it was. Please join us again next week when we'll talk about asthma, which is a very important topic even in today's time. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you for
Alpan.
having me.
This brings us to the end of this last edition of the Capital Forum for this Valentine's month. I hope you enjoyed our various dialogues of politics, who's who, and a new page in medicine. Next week, we will bring you more information to navigate you through who's who and what's what of your modern lifestyle. We look forward to your company in March. Seems so far away, and yet it's only days away from you and I. Please take good care of yourselves, and as they say, March can be vicious. It roars in like a lion. Till next week, I'm Rajesh Mehra bidding you farewell and signing off from the desk of GTV. Adios.